If you've clicked on this video, it's because you're meant to be here and you're meant to hear the words I'm about to speak. Now, if you're somebody who has suffered from self-doubt, self-sabotage, felt as though life is not going to plan and that you will never be successful, this video will help you see just how successful you can be without doing things by the world's standards. Now, if you try to meet people where they are in terms of their successes and their material gains or their material wealth, you will consistently or constantly keep chasing a carrot that you will never be able to reach. So there are a few things that I would like to discuss when it comes to success and also redefining success as we know it. Now, I remember growing up, I grew up in a relatively big family. My grandmother had quite a few children, and from those children, they also had their children. So we had a big family and we were such a collective bunch, always saw each other majority of the time. And I feel as though that upbringing plus some of the teachings that I took away from my grandmother helped me to understand what success truly was in this lifetime. And in many ways, her teachings have actually grounded me. And now I feel as I've gotten a little bit older, past my 20s, I now really and truly not only understand, but I hold on to those things that she taught me with great value and also great adoration, because she had figured something out that many of us, myself included, still struggle with until now. Now, some of the things that I felt I was very privileged to have learned and was taught from a very young age was the ability to give gratitude for everything you have in life. Because it's very easy to overlook the things that we have been given, the things that we actually have as a privilege and take for granted, and also those things that come into our lives so easily, so selflessly, and yet we still do not acknowledge them. If you really take a minute to think about where you are right now, you're in your house, you're most likely warm, you have Wi-Fi, hence why you're watching me, so you have technology, you're able to do certain things that some people in some parts of the world could only dream of. That in itself is something to be grateful for. If you think about having running water, clean water, having food, right? Even having electricity to power your cooker and to power your fridges or wherever it might be, that in itself is something to be grateful for. If you're someone who has a job, whether it's a part-time job, a full-time job, whether you've just been promoted, that is still something to be grateful for, right? So all these things are material, but if we take it back to a granular level and think about your health, your mental health, physical health, your emotional health, if all of that is intact, or at least you're working towards making it better than what it was, that in itself is something to be grateful for. So there's so many things we can be grateful for, including the people in our lives. And like I mentioned, I came from a big family. So for me, I was constantly surrounded by love, sometimes a little bit of drama, but you know, that's family for you. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of love that filled the house, that filled the room, and ultimately filled our hearts with even more gratitude, especially now as we're all growing up, people setting up their own families and people become a little bit distant. Looking back at those days, I not only miss them, but I'm also very grateful for what I was able to experience, because now I'm even more grateful for the little things that enter my life. So that's number one. The other thing that will teach you how to be successful in life in ways that other people will never be able to understand is by acknowledging the small wins that you have in life, the small successes that other people may look at and say, why are you so happy about that? Be grateful for those successes and those small wins in accordance to other people, because those small wins are the ones that eventually stack up and become the big win that people will then acknowledge. And also, don't seek for people to even acknowledge your wins or your successes, because at the core of it, if you're happy, if you're content, and if you are in alignment with your purpose, that within itself is a cause to celebrate, because many people walk through life aimlessly with that direction, with that purpose, with that motivation. So even having that to call your own, that is a small win. Learn to celebrate it. Don't wait for the big promotion. Don't wait for the big bonus. Don't wait for the day you eventually get married to celebrate life or to celebrate love. Even having people in your life that love you, that is a cause of celebration, because there are many out there that only wish for an ounce of that love or that ounce of affection or that ounce of trust and respect from people that they love, and they don't have it. So learn how to be grateful for that. And when you're grateful, you will start to see that they start to stack, and eventually you can look back at your life and say, because I was grateful for the little I was given, more was added onto me. And I believe there's a verse in the Bible for that. I will put it up here, and you will see that if you are a Christian, then you should be governed by this word if you are lacking in the aspects of celebrating yourself and also all the good that is around you. Number 3, take stock of where you have come from. This is something something I've also been guilty of many a times. You know, you're in a position where you want to get further, you're striving to get more, you're striving to be more, you're striving to collect more sometimes, right? We're in a capitalistic world and we have so many things pushed upon us that we should buy. So we all, in a way, when we're not conscious of it or mindful of it, we turn into consumers, and you're constantly consuming, whether it's social media, whether it's the items that you're purchasing, whether it's all the memberships that you have that you barely use half the time. You're constantly collecting. And what happens is you always want to get to the next thing and you forget to stop. Take stock of how far you have come. Take stock of all the things that you have overcome to be where you are. And while you're there taking stock, start to define or even redefine where you want to go. Don't just be part of a flock, easily led, easily guided to go into something that you don't want to because it's a trend, because that's what everyone is doing. No, take time, take stock, know who you are, because in knowing who you are and where you came from, it's easy for you to direct yourself where you need to go. That is the most important thing that you can do for yourself, to define success by your own definition. Because when you're constantly chasing someone else's path, someone else's fortune, someone else's ideal of success, the part that nobody talks about is that you can chase that. You can leave your 9 to 5 and make money on a side hustle, only to get to the end of it and realize maybe I was made for a 9 to 5, but because everyone sold me the dream of being an entrepreneur and grinding hard and hustling, I went with that, but now this isn't fitting for me. Likewise, if you're somebody who has grown up in a family where there were only 4 careers that you could do, you could be a doctor, a lawyer, or I don't know, an engineer or a financier, and you follow that path only to get to the top. You might even be at CEO level, you might even be a managing director level, only to look back and realize you lived your life for other people because you didn't take stock of where you want to go. That is the biggest disappointment and sense of regret you can feel in yourself. So looking back at where you've come from, realize where you are, and defining where you want to go is part of creating a success or a level of success that only very few will be able to attain in this lifetime. Now, another thing that I would like to mention here, which is fairly similar to what I just said, but a little bit different, is start to align yourself with where you want to be. Start to align yourself with who you want to be, right? So if you've acknowledged that this has been my journey, this is where I am thus far, this is where I've managed to get myself, this is where God has put me, look at it and see whether it's fitting to where you want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years time. So if you're that person who ended up becoming a nurse because that was just what was expected of you straight out of school, you went to university, you've done everything, you've done the qualifications, you're now a nurse or you're in a medical field of sorts, and now you're looking at yourself thinking, I don't see myself doing this because something within me doesn't align that. Yes, I want to be of service to people, but not in this capacity. I want to be of service to people, but I don't think I have it in me to keep seeing people who are hurt because I'm a healer, but my healing is in a different avenue. When you've understood that, and say for example in this case a nurse trying to navigate into something that is more maybe like they want to be a psychologist, right? They've got the medical backing, but now they want to go into, you know, psychology and helping people because they really want to be of service to people, but they want to understand the mind and how they can help people heal themselves, you know, through their mind, through their thoughts, and understand their mental well-being and so on and so forth. If that's where that person wants to be and this person is you then need to start understanding, how can I then change my path? Who do I need to speak to? Where do I need to go to retrain? Where do I need to go, you know, within the next year, 2, 3 years? Do I need to go back and do something different in order for me to get onto that path of being, you know, a psychologist or whatever it might be? When you're able to do that, you're redefining success for yourself because you're stepping away from the path that is not yours, right? It's like somebody who's driving a car that can only go 40 miles per hour and they're in a lane where people are going 100 miles per hour. That is an accident waiting to happen. Sometimes you need to slow down. Like I said, take stock, figure out where your lane needs to be, figure out where your lane truly is, and then get back on to the middle lane and then onto the fast lane when you are ready and when you have defined your path. So that's another way to really create success for yourself, is that stepping outside of what is expected of you. Similar to when I said doing things because your parents expect you to, doing things because society expects you to. Step aside and do what is in alignment with you. And that's with work, that's with relationship, that's with living conditions, that's with even the way you govern yourself, maybe even the way you dress. It could be something very minimal, but take control. That in itself will make you feel like a winner. Trust me. Now, last but not least, when you have done all the above, I want you to learn how to pray or meditate, but most importantly, the main reason why you either pray or you meditate, depending whether you're religious or you're spiritual or you're other, is because you are now going to hone in on what you want for your life. Focus. Most of us, myself included, our attention is everywhere. It's fragmented, it's here, it's there, and we're trying to attain so much, yet at the same time we're attaining nothing because we're trying to do everything and becoming nothing at the same time. By praying, by meditating on exactly what it is that you want for your life, you will find that pathways are created in places you never thought of before. Almost coincidental meetups will happen. Things that seem outside of this world, things will happen in a time scale that will seem outside of this world to be able to facilitate your dream or your life, or essentially what you would deem as success. And I believe it was a quote by Steve Jobs where he said, you connect the dots looking back, right? This is part of why I said you need to take stock of your life and figure out how far you've come, why it brought me this far, and where am I going, right? You will connect those dots looking back, but for now, what you need to do is connect those dots up to the point where you are. Focus on where you want to go, and you will find that things start to play out in a way that your success becomes as easy as walking. And what happens is that the success becomes even sweeter, even nicer, even more pleasant because you defined it for yourself. You do not let anybody define it for you. Take ownership of where your life is going, take ownership of what path you're on, and take ownership of what success means to you. And this world is your oyster. And with that being said, you can redefine success for yourself. You can make yourself a success in more ways than not. And if you believe in that, I want you to put in the comment section, I am a success, because as a man or a woman thinketh, so is he or she. So when you attest to that, when you hold on to that, when you have that faith and you say, I am a success, and you start to put plans in place for that, there's going to be no option but the success to come to you. Okay? So if you enjoy this video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you really want to hear a little bit more about things like this, watch a few of these videos up here and I'm sure you will love them. Until next time, bye bye.